Hey everyone, and thanks for jumping back into the Cryptoverse. Today, we're going to talk about Bitcoin, and we're going to be discussing this fairly typical rally into the death cross. If you guys like the content, make sure you subscribe to the channel, give the video a thumbs up, and also check out the sale on Into the Cryptoverse Premium at intothecryptoverse.com. So we put out a video last week, I believe, talking about how there was an upcoming death cross for Bitcoin on the daily time frame, and that while it sounds very bad, oftentimes the actual reaction of price into a death cross is to temporarily do the opposite of what the name implies, right? So oftentimes when you go into a death cross, you will actually see the price pump into the death cross. And when you go into a golden cross, you will often see the price dump into a golden cross. And one of the reasons for that is because by definition, golden crosses and death crosses are in fact lagging indicators, right? So if you get a death cross, it means the price has already gone down a good amount, right? It doesn't mean that it has to immediately go down more, but what it does say is that it's already gone down a good amount. Therefore, you get this death cross. A lot of people see the sign, see the news of a death cross, and then what ends up happening is they sell on the news of it only for us to then pump into the death cross. And this is why I put that video out last week, was just sort of a fair warning to people to say, hey guys, we have a death cross coming up. A lot of people are going to be talking about it. But normally what happens is you rally into the death cross. And this is actually something we saw back in 2019 as well. In fact, we had a fairly typical rally into the death cross back then. You can see we had a death cross occur in late October, and we had a fairly sizable rally into the death cross. Now, my expectation is that we will not see the extent of a rally like this, right? So this rally over here was more substantial. It was a 44% move to the upside. So one of the reasons I'm not expecting that is because this move over here was essentially double everything we've seen this pre-halving year, right? So, this rally was more like a 4x rally rather than a 2x rally. And then the dump below the 20-week was a 20% drop, whereas this time we got a 10% drop below the 20-week moving average. And rather than take my word for it, let's just go double check, just so I'm telling you the most accurate thing, right? So this dump below the bull market support band was, in fact, you can see it up here, this percentage, it was a 19.69% drop, right? And then this drop here was only about a 10.56% drop. So essentially, you're getting about half the move in most cases, right? It's giving you about half the move on every single turn. That's not to say that this one has to be half the move as well, but there are those similarities of Bitcoin getting this sort of a fake rally after a couple weeks, only to be a wick, and then to get a little bit more of a substantial rally. But the key thing to note here is that even in the death cross rally of 2019, which was a fairly substantial rally, we still closed weekly closes below the 20-week SMA. That is the key thing to note. And we even talked about this in the most recent video on the bull market support band, is that in a downtrend, we should expect that there will be occasional rallies back up to test the 20-week SMA. It's sort of like the bulls are giving it a go, and they're saying, hey, let's see if we can muster up enough strength to break through this thing. Normally, at this phase of the cycle, they're unable to do so. Now, in 2019, we did get a wick above it. And I said, even in the last video on the bull market support band, that you could always see wicks. Like, no one really cares about the wicks, but it's more so you likely will not get multiple weekly closes, consecutive weekly closes below or above the 20-week moving average, is my guess. Okay, again, I could be wrong. I get things wrong all the time. So I would suspect that we will not have, multiple consecutive, I don't think we're going to get like 3 weekly closes in a row above the 20-week SMA in short order. Now, if that were to happen, then again, as I said in that video, it would be back to the drawing board in terms of trying to figure out what this market is trying to tell us. But until that has changed, then I will assume the status quo remains unchanged. okay, until something like that were to happen. So then as a reminder, the bull market support band ranges from around 27,245 to 27,966. So you're probably just better off thinking of the 20-week or the bull market support band as ranging from 27K to 28K. Okay, it's just above 27 and then right just below 28, but around 27K to 28K is where that bull market support band lies. And so, the expectation for me would be that, while you could have rallies back up, that you would not get multiple consecutive weekly closes much above $28,000, if that makes sense. Now, there is a nuance here, in the short term, and that is that we have not taken out the June low, right? So we talked about, I think when we published the Death Cross video, it was somewhere over here when Bitcoin was at around the same price as it is today. And we said, look, we're probably going to come down here and sweep these lows. Now, it's important to note that we did go below where these daily closes were, but technically speaking, and it is always worthwhile to be technically correct, because that is, of course, the best way to be correct. Technically speaking, Bitcoin did not yet take out this low. And this low, just for the record, so that people are aware, in case, if and when it does happen, it's at 24,770, right? So we went down to 24,915. So, we came to within, $140, $150 or so, depending on the exchange you're looking at, of breaking below that low, but it in fact has not happened just yet. Now, when we do get these rallies, one of the things we talked about is that while it can lift the altcoin market up on their USD pairs if Bitcoin goes up, it is likely going to crush altcoins on their Bitcoin pairs, because unfortunately for the altcoin market, they just, at this phase of the market cycle, most of them collectively will not be able to catch the same type of bid that Bitcoin can. And so then you'll see Bitcoin going up and alts bleeding, and Bitcoin going down and alts bleeding, right? So like if you were to look at Bitcoin USD for the last several weeks, right? Like, we're we had 3 weeks in a row where Bitcoin USD was going down. And then now this is a week where Bitcoin USD is going up. So 1, 2, 3, 4, red, 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 green. But Bitcoin dominance, 1, 2, 3, 4, has been green for every single one of them, right? So that shows you that, again, no matter the direction of Bitcoin USD, the Bitcoin dominance should go up and all Bitcoin pairs should bleed. Remember, one of the great things about Bitcoin rallies for the dominance is that Bitcoin rallies have a way of breaking all Bitcoin valuations off of their support levels, so that when Bitcoin rolls over, those altcoins simply have nowhere to hide. Now, again, in the short term, when you look at a lot of these altcoins, you'll see that they've gotten a couple percent move to the upside. But look at this: Bitcoin's up, more than 4% in this death cross rally, whereas a lot of these altcoins are not. Right? There's not a single altcoin, at least on this list, that's up more than 4% at this, at the time of this video. I'm sure there are some altcoins out there that are outperforming Bitcoin in this rally. There always are a few, but collectively, that just simply isn't the case. And you can even look closely at sort of the outperformance of Bitcoin in this rally, right? Like you can see that Bitcoin has sort of rallied back up to where it previously was. But now go look at Ethereum, right? It hasn't made it there yet. Now, if Bitcoin were to continue this rally, right, like if Bitcoin were to go to say 27K or even 28K, then it's possible that it drags Ethereum right back up to these levels. But you can see that Bitcoin is relatively stronger than Ethereum, right? Bitcoin has rallied back up to these levels, whereas Ethereum just simply has not. And if you go further up the risk curve and look at something like Cardano, you can see that it's nowhere close to where it was back over here, right? It would still need to rally up, quite a bit from this current price, right? It would have to go up another 6 or 7% just to get back to where it was, whereas Bitcoin has already made it back to where it was. And again, that shows you the relative strength of Bitcoin in the pre-halving year, right? So that's why we stress this constantly, is that in bear market years and in pre-halving years, Bitcoin tends to outperform the rest of the market no matter the direction that it goes. Now, on any short time frame, on any shorter interval, yes, you can find something that's outperforming it. But collectively, the altcoin market bleeds. And that's one of the things about these Bitcoin, rallies, is that they break those altcoins off of their support levels. So then when Bitcoin turns back around and goes back the other way, those have nowhere to hide. Now, it is important again to note that we have not taken out this low here. Okay, so that will keep the debate alive longer as to whether this is a downtrend or not. Had we taken out this low, it would have been clearer to say that Bitcoin is in a downtrend. Now, my speculation, dubious as it might be, is that Bitcoin is in a downtrend, right? That's my speculation. And that any move to the upside would result in a lower high. So I would suspect that this is a high, this is a lower high. I mean, of course they are, but that, any type of rally would likely just simply result in a lower high. Okay. But because we have not put in a lower low yet, you cannot technically declare this as a downtrend, even though I suspect it will turn into one. That hasn't happened yet, right? And it's important to be honest with ourselves when we talk about the markets and to say, you know what? At this point, the bulls have sort of held this low. By the end of the year, I have, as the months roll on, the weeks roll on, I have my doubts that it will hold. But at this point, it has held. And so, that's what you would look for, is any potential move up. I would guess it would be a lower high that would then ultimately result in a lower low. Remember in 2019, we sort of had these rallies back up to that bull market support band, and they all just simply kept resulting in one lower low after another. And again, I mean, for a while we were putting in, new lows locally, but we had not yet taken out the June low. It is also important to note, there's a nuance to this, is that we did take out the June low in 2019 right before the death cross. But there's this other nuance to it, to say, yes, we took it out. We also didn't take it out until October, right? And so it was, and basically it was late October at that. So it was more than a month from now in terms of time that it was ultimately taken out. I don't honestly think that's the fairest comparison, because we also know the halving is going to come a month earlier this time approximately. We also know that we fell below the 20-week SMA about a month earlier than we did last time. So I still think it's appropriate to sort of compare it to this move here, and to what I would be looking for is simply a lower high that would then ultimately result in a lower low. The invalidation criteria, as we have said, would be that if Bitcoin is able to sustain itself above the bull market support band, then that could give credence to some other trend. But I still suspect that the trend that we have talked about for a while will remain intact, and that you spend half the year going up and half the year going down. It's just that, in the same way in an uptrend, you get pullbacks, right? In a downtrend, you would still occasionally get moves, back up to the upside, right? And what those moves accomplish again is they break those alt Bitcoin pairs down. It leads the dominance to go higher, and the dominance going higher leads to a healthier overall market. Now, a lot of people would disagree with that statement, but again, that's just my view of the market. It's not necessarily the right view or the most accurate view per se, but that is just simply my view, is that the dominance going up is more indicative of a healthier market, and would then lead to justification to even consider other sectors of the market more seriously. But until that time, as I've said before, right, Bitcoin is likely going to outperform the rest of the market no matter the direction of Bitcoin USD. And it seems like pretty much exactly on schedule, we have gotten this, sort of this rally into the death cross, right? This death cross occurred today, right? I mean, and we talked about last week, we said it would probably occur, sometime mid this week, September 11th or September 12th, something like that. And you can see that it occurred, right? I mean, you can see that it occurred right here. This candle here, it had not yet occurred. It was very close. And then this candle, they crossed. And exactly on that candle is when we got this sort of this pop by Bitcoin. So, go back and watch that video. We talked a lot about how Bitcoin typically rallies into the death cross, how we would likely come down and sweep these lows. It is important to know that we did come down to the lows. We did not quite take it out, right? So that is a nuance that's important to sort of distinguish. But that, be that as it may, the sort of the typical death cross rally has materialized. And from here, I guess we'll just see, what sort of move it has in store. And it could be any a number of things. And I'm not going to sit up here and pretend to tell you I know, because I don't. I have absolutely no idea how high it will go. I mean, you could make a case for it to ultimately go to all of these levels before it sort of fades back down. I mean, you could make the case that it sort of just fades around these levels and then goes back down. Perhaps it goes up to that 50-day moving average near where this move was back over here. That would be closer to 27.6, 27.7 before moving down. Or this would sort of be the more optimistic scenario, would be sort of go all the way back up to just below this breakdown point and then fade back down, right? So all three of those scenarios, I think, are possibilities. And if you're looking for someone to tell you which one is going to play out, then go to another channel, because that's not going to be me. But, we've seen these patterns before. If you were to go look at say like total 3, there's examples of this, right? Where where Bitcoin, where like the altcoin market, breaks down and then rallies back up, only then put in a lower high, right? So like here, you could even see maybe total 3 rally back up to also just simply put in some type of lower high. So with the altcoin market, I would have the expectation that, you have these lower highs. I would expect that this lower high will not be taken out this year, 377 billion. Okay, that's my expectation, is that we will stay below that high for the remainder of this year, and that any move by the altcoin market would likely result in a lower high, as well as my view on Bitcoin. And again, during these rallies, you can see that the Bitcoin dominance just loves to move up. And, a lot of people have been fading the dominance rally this year. And I'll probably make a dedicated video on dominance relatively soon, because I like to do that every couple of weeks or so. But just as a reminder, Bitcoin dominance has been above the bull market support band for the entire year of 2023, except this wick, that one wick. Every single other time this year, Bitcoin dominance has been above the bull market support band. Here, it's been below the 20-week, but it was still above the 21-week EMA. And again, it's a combination of 2 moving averages. It's not just one. It's to say that it needs to be above either one of them. And while a lot of people have faded the dominance rally, and while a lot of people have felt like the dominance was bearish, it's been above the 20-week. It's been above the bull market support band for the entirety of the year, right? But it certainly hasn't felt like that at times, but it has, right? It has. And so, the expectation would be that the dominance is likely going to, to continue this rally. And then when Bitcoin eventually rolls back over after the death cross rally is sort of finalized, then that is where, again, the altcoin market gets crushed again, not only on their Bitcoin pairs, but their USD pairs. But again, when you get death cross rallies, it's going to lift the entire market, more or less, right? You're going to see other things go up, just like you are. I mean, look, Ethereum is still red on the week at this point, right? I mean, it could easily turn green. I'm not saying that it can't. And in fact, this is some type of, support level that I'm sure the bulls will try to hold for a while, but it's still red for the week. ADA is very, very slightly green. Polkadot, still red, right? Solana, very slightly green. Avalanche, still red on the week. Matic, still red on the week, right? So a lot of these altcoins, they're still red on the week, and the ones that are not are only barely green, right? Whereas Bitcoin is at least up about a couple percent this week, and it's up about 4.5% on the day. So just to be clear, my expectation is sort of being met that we get the death cross rally. We have not taken out this prior low yet, which is something that we'll have to continue to talk about. Expectations by me would be that we ultimately put in a lower high, and that if we do get multiple weekly closes back above the bull market support band, then I will have to reconsider my point of view. But that is my point of view right now. Hopefully, I've done an okay job of communicating those expectations. It is funny how we sort of go into every death cross saying that we're likely going to pump into it, and then it happens, and then we all get excited again about the price. But this is and really it always has been the expectation for death crosses. And it's kind of like the same thing with golden crosses, right? With golden crosses, you often see the reverse play out. right? And you get, and the important nuance here is that in death crosses, you typically get a rally, but you still then continue the trend later on, right? Like the trend still tends to remain intact, but it's just that you often rally into it. Just like on a golden cross, right? Like a golden cross right here, you dump into it, but then the overall trend tends to remain intact, right? So pump into the death cross, overall trend remains intact. That happens quite frequently, right? Um, and even over here, right? What happened, right? When we had our golden cross, what happened? We dumped into it, but then the overall trend of an uptrend still more or less remained intact for the first half of the year. And so we look at this today and we're like, all right, well, we have a death cross. The general trend that we see is to rally into the death cross, but for the general trend of the downtrend to remain intact. So that is my expectation. We've communicated this several times, and we will ultimately see if it plays out. Thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe, give the video a thumbs up, and again, check out the sale on Into the Cryptoverse Premium at intothecryptoverse.com. See you guys next time. Bye.